I've got a new vehicle that I want to introduce to the channel. The channel has now got a van. Let's go! This is my Volkswagen Caddy 2 litre SDI engine, short wheelbase, silver van. SDI means that there's no turbo on this engine, so it is slow as f***. The engine itself is running at 69 brake horsepower and has nearly done 200,000 miles. This van could have even been the cheapest running Volkswagen Caddy in the UK. So where did I get the van from? This van was on Facebook Marketplace and the previous owner was a panel beater, so it's safe to say that the bodywork on the van was pretty well looked after. So my first impressions when going to look at the van was that the bodywork was fairly tidy, small amounts of rust that needed to be sorted out. The cab looked like it was used and abused and hadn't been cleaned for years. The rear of the van that I'm sat in now was fairly tidy, didn't look like it had had any heavy abuse over the years. Like I say, it was a panel beater, so at worst the van was used for carrying around panels for cars or for vans. It still had the bulkhead in it, which was a massive bonus because I know a lot of people take the bulkhead out of the van. There was a massive oil leak coming from underneath the van, which I noticed as soon as I went to look at it. The engine management light was also on and it also needed some new tyres. So for a start he was asking for £2,500 for the van, but on the day of me going to view it he actually dropped the price on Facebook Marketplace to £1,500. Then after looking at the van, seeing the problems that it had, seeing what needed sorted, I offered him £1,100 and he took the deal. So what actually needed doing upon purchasing the van? Well, like I said, the engine management light was on. That was for the EGR valve, which I replaced myself for £30. I also changed the MAF sensor just for good measures, which was also another £30. I then gave the van a full service by myself, which included an oil change, air filter change, fuel filter change, cab filter change, and I put a new sump plug on because that was definitely leaking. And like I mentioned before, there was some rust that needed sorting on the van. That included having a brand new wing put on and the wing resprayed to match the rest of the colour of the van, and some rust on the door sill on this side, which also got repaired and resprayed. Then of course the vehicle needed a new MOT, which cost me another £500 or £600. Then shortly after, a drive shaft snapped, so I had to get that replaced. I had a broken spring, so I also had to get that replaced. I also then put a new radiator on the van because that was leaking water, and the total for all of these repairs cost me £1,860. So then including the buying price, which was again £1,100, that brought my grand total up to £2,960. Maybe this wasn't the cheapest van after all. So then with the inside of the van looking like it had been used and abused, we had to change things. We had to pimp it up a little bit. So for a start, I bought some new seat covers for £30. I then bought some upgraded knobs for the heaters and the fans, so it looked a bit more modern. They cost another £10. Then I bought a new gear stick cover because the old one was tatty and looked like it had been absolutely beaten. That was another £10. I installed this dodgy radio that doesn't actually fit in the van yet. That was free because that's one I had laying around in the shed, so that's a massive bonus. This radio brand new was actually £300, but I'm not going to include that in the price list. Then I bought a steering wheel cover because there was some nasty mould and dirt all over the steering wheel. Really it needs a new steering wheel, but I just went for a new cover. That was another £10. Then in the rear of the van I put some new carpet down on top of the old carpet just to make it look a lot nicer. That was also free because my boss was doing up his house and had a load of offcuts of brand new carpet, so big up to him. Then I put these wheel covers on to cover up the nasty wheels that are hiding underneath. They looked absolutely awful. It was a massive upgrade just to put these rim covers on. That was another £30. Altogether these upgrades cost me around £90 to do to the van, bringing the grand total of the van to £3,050. It's definitely not a cheap van anymore. So what is actually next for the van? I need to install a new radio which doesn't bounce around like this one does while I'm driving around, and one that actually works. The touchscreen on this is hit or miss, so sometimes I can have tunes, sometimes I can't. I also potentially want to change the steering wheel in the future, so I don't just have a steering wheel cover on it. I would like a modern looking steering wheel in the van just to make it look that little bit nicer. I definitely want to upgrade the wheels in the future in the van, so I'm not just driving with plastic rims. Although they made the van look better, it still just looks cheap and nasty, and the wheels look way too small for the van. We need to get some big boys on it. Then for the rear of the van, I definitely want to give it a bit of an upgrade by putting carpet lining all around the ceiling, the walls of the van, new carpet on the floor, again just making it look a lot nicer and a lot more modern. But coming up in the next section are some reasons why I might not be doing that. Then in the near future, I would also like to make a removable camper section for the van. It'll need to be removable because I'll need the van clear sometimes and I won't be using it all the time, so it definitely needs to be able to be put in and out of the van. But that will open up so many new doors for adventures in the future. So you might be thinking, Matt, why would you buy a van? Well, I'm actually a self-employed builder, so the van is mainly used for hauling kit around, picking up materials, running things around, and all round really, it was bought for a workhorse. I do have a car and I do work with another builder who generally tends to run me around at work, but for the times where I do need a vehicle for work, having the van just saves me mucking up my car with my dirty work clothes and just makes me look a little bit more professional when I turn up to jobs in an actual van. The next reason why I wanted a van was just for a bit of a project, so I could have a vehicle that I could actually learn to do things on myself and not really care if I mess it up too bad. My car is way too nice to go touching things and messing it up with my unexperienced mechanicking skills. With it being a project, it was also an opportunity for me to make my own cheap and affordable dream van. Then lastly, it's just helpful for jobs that I have to do at home, tip runs, etc. My dad sometimes uses it when he needs to take things to the tip. It's just much better for getting things in and out of, and like I say, it's just used as an all-round workhorse. So then the last reason why I actually bought a van was for this thing, the surron. As much freedom as having a surron does actually give you, it doesn't give you as much freedom as having a van and a surron. Having a van makes it so much easier just to chuck the surron in the back, go to a few local spots which are really good for riding. It opens so many doors for adventures, meeting up with other people, meeting up for track days on the surron, etc, etc. You get the point. Having a van that fits 2 surrons in means I can chuck the bike in the back, go and pick up a pal, we can both go riding on a day out. It's a lot more hassle free than trying to chuck it into a car, even though that is possible. Having a van and a surron is now going to open up so many new doors. There's going to be so many more adventures, there's going to be so many more spots to ride on the surron, which means loads more content for the channel coming in the future. So to conclude this video, I am gassed to have a van for the channel. After everything I've done to it, it's finally running smoothly and sweetly. We have had a few hiccups along the way, but it seems to be running alright for now, so that means there's loads more adventures to come in the future in the van. If you have liked this video and you want to see more van content to come in the future, whether that be more adventures in the van, upgrades and mods to the van, etc, etc, make sure you leave a like on this video, throw it in the comments down below, tell me what you like about the van yourself, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm Matt Francis signing out, peace.